Okay. In Vegas, the 49ers are now a Super Bowl favorite. It's not Kansas City. It's not Philadelphia. It's not Dallas. It's not Miami. It's not Cincinnati. It's the 49ers. They're 6-1 favorites
That's crazy.
to win the Super Bowl. Kansas City's a close second at 6.5 to 1. I think Dallas might be like 7.5 to 1 or 7 to 1. Is it in your mind? Is it the right thing to say that this is a Super Bowl or bust season? People are always afraid to say that. Have you noticed that? Nobody wants to say, "Hey, you know what? We have to win the Super Bowl, or it's been a bad year." And I do get that because it's like it kind of sets you up for somewhat of a joyless endeavor on the year, right? It's like, well, wait a second, what if you go to the NFC Championship game and the ball bounces wrong? Okay, happened last year. What if you go to the Super Bowl and somebody of significance gets hurt? Or what if you go to the Super Bowl and Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid have a historic performance, one for the ages, and the Niners play great, but they just play greater? I think it's okay. I'm going to be on that side of this. I think it's okay to sit there and say, you know what? It's Super Bowl or bust. It's okay when you haven't made the playoffs for a long time to say, hey, man, we just want to make the playoffs. Or it's okay when you've had 15 losing seasons in a row or some ridiculous thing that some teams have, to come out and just go, hey man, we can just have a winning season, and that would be good. Every team has a different standard every year. And it's okay that the Niners this year are in that Super Bowl or bust mode. And I just think that we should all kind of come to grips with it and embrace it, lean into it a little bit, and just be like, yeah, you know what? That's just what happens when you've been to 3 of the last 4 NFC Championship games and you got a ton of talent and you got a play caller as good as Kyle Shanahan and you got a young quarterback that looks as talented as Brock Purdy and you added Javon Hargrave and took him away from the Eagles. It's okay to be we're in a Super Bowl or bust kind of a year. And I just think if we're going to be completely honest and straightforward, that's it. I asked Aaron Banks about this today. I said, hey, Aaron, it seems like every year you guys are going for the Super Bowl, but this year there seems to be some added resolve, some like extra urgency. And he said, Krug, we've gotten really close. We've gotten really close. And close isn't going to be good enough this time. When you get as close as they've gotten, it's okay to say that you're not going to be happy unless you go beyond where you've gotten. And since they've gotten to the NFC Championship game, that means they got to get to the Super Bowl. And then when you really look at the history of this franchise, they don't measure themselves with getting to the Super Bowl. Nobody's walking around going, how many times the Niners have appeared in the Super Bowl? It's how many Lombardi trophies do you have in the trophy case? 81, 84, 88, 89, 94, 5. The elusive 6. The elusive 6th Super Bowl trophy is what they seek. Is it okay that this year's Super Bowl or bust?
Absolutely. Nobody sits there and walks around saying, you remember that season they almost won the Super Bowl? Nobody cares if you lose or if you come in second place. This team has been so close to the top of the mountain. You never know what's going to happen. Like, you have players that eventually might leave. Like, for this core, with this highly paid team, Kyle Juszczyk, Fred Warner, George Kittle, Trent Williams, some of these veterans that have been on this team, Arik Armstead, they're not going to be here forever, Larry. Eventually, some of these guys will segue. They'll be replaced with the younger guys they're developing. This is a solid team that has aspirations to win a Super Bowl. What has been the one thing that they've been missing? Quarterback, franchise quarterback. And they might have found him, and I think they have. Christian McCaffrey, a guy that's a star running back. But how many more years does he have left on the tires? The tread is going to get worn out eventually. Like you said, they got to kind of limit him a little bit because at some point, a guy like CMC, he's not going to be what he was right now. And he's in the peak of his career. You got Nick Bosa that just got paid. Deebo Samuel, he's at this peak of his career. All these guys are at this highly paid position. They're all getting, highly paid for a good reason. And they're kind of at the peaks of their career. It's not going to last forever. You brought in Javon Hargrave. specifically to get over the hump to beat the Eagles and the Cowboys to keep yourself separated from them. So absolutely, it's a Super Bowl or bust. I won't. I mean, I'm not going to sit here and say, "Oh my God, I'm going to be so upset." But the process and getting through it and getting to the playoffs, it's still going to be a fun ride. But ultimately, these fans have been starving for a Super Bowl for years. Look at Patrick Willis. This is a guy on this
Yeah,
team.
people are asking Cosmos is Raj, what's on your T-shirt this week?
Yeah, it's Patrick Willis, the legend, right? We all love Patrick Willis.
P. Willis.
But those rosters, remember those rosters? Stacked team, they got it. They finally got to the Super Bowl, and they lost. And then look what happened after that. It was a big fallout. Players left. The roster was never the same. You just never know what's going to happen. Who knows if Trent Williams is going to be here from a year or two from now. So with the team that they have in place, absolutely a Super Bowl year for them. They got to make it, man. This is the best team they've had in a very, very long time, man. And I think this has to be a Super Bowl or bust type of year. I'm not afraid to say it. I mean, look at this roster, top to bottom. It is probably the most complete roster in the NFL. I think if this team doesn't win a Super Bowl, it'll definitely be it'll be a disappointment. I think in my mind.